Hello everyone. This video is about Chapter 5, how to use the CSS box model. The CSS box model is a fundamental concept in web design that defines how elements on a web page are structured and displayed. Chrome developer tools are a very helpful tool regarding the CSS box model. So let's take a look. It's just a quick review here on how to go to Chrome developer tools. We can go up here to the three dots, go down to More Tools, and go here to Developer Tools. Also, we can use this shortcut, right? Control-Shift-I. So let's try that. Control-Shift-I. And that will bring up the Developer Tools. Now, I have mine right here. You know, sometimes I move it from the bottom to the right side, just depending on what I'm doing. And one way to do that is when this is open, you can hit Control-Shift-D. When I hit Control-Shift-D, it will go on the right-hand side, okay? And then you can just it just toggles back and forth, Control-Shift-D, right? So it all depends on where you want to have it and what works best for your page and what you're trying to look at, right? So the CSS box model contains four main components, right? It contains the content, the padding, the border, and the margin. Now, if you just open Chrome Developer Tools here, all of this is going to be really pointing to the whole page, right? This is basically the whole content of the page. But if you want to, let's say you want to just look at this specific box. The way to do that is you go up here into the HTML up here on the right-hand side, go to that div, click on it, and now you are looking at the box model for that specific box, right? So there's the first one here, it's the content. Then you've got padding. Then you got your border, and you have your margin, okay? If you want to go to the second box here, you can click on the second box, and same thing, right? Content, padding, border, margin. And I'll show you one other way to get to that. So if you're here just on the page itself, if you right click on here and go down to inspect, it will go to that exact spot within the HTML up here. And so you'll be right there within the box model, okay? Now I did want to go ahead and switch over here a little bit to looking at a circle on a page, okay? Now, this all appears to us to be a circle, but in HTML, every element is a rectangular box. There are no circles in HTML. It's a rectangular box. So the box model describes each page element as a rectangular box that includes the content, the padding, margins, and borders, okay? So I want to show you a little more here on this. So if we go to the styles for this circle. So what makes this a circle is really this border radius. So if we take this and we comment this out, as you can see, we're at a square now, that quickly, right? This border radius actually is all about edging. It's all about changing the edges around your rectangle or square, right? And what we're doing here on this is we're changing, and it goes from it goes clockwise, right? From like up top, right? From noon to 3 to 6 to 9, right? Think clockwise here. So this first one is up top, then to the right, then bottom, and then to the left, okay? So what we need to do to make this a circle, it has to be at least 50% of the width, right? 50% of the width. So it has to be So I have 50 in here 4 times, right? Another thing you can do instead of pixels, you can also change this to percentages. This can be 50%, just like that. And you can make these all 50%, and that will do the same thing as 50 pixels, okay? But for now, we're just gonna use pixels, okay? Now, if you even make this more than 50, it's still going to be a circle because it's when it reaches its max, and that is pretty much the max that it can run for in this scenario. Then even if you change this to all 100 pixels, it's still going to be the same. You're going to still see the circle, right? It's not going to change there. But if you decide to do less than that, you can do something less than that. Let's say we change this to 30 there and 30 here, and we save that. Now we have a different kind of shape, right? So something you can play around with, look, and see how you can change the shape of that multiple different ways. Okay. There you go. And if you just want to make it like, you can make it 10 pixels everywhere, right? And that's just really a square with rounded edges, right? If all of these are going to be the same, if these are all going to be the same length, same pixel, not length, same pixel, you can just do it one time, right? And that will apply to all of them. Or you want to go back to a circle, save it, same thing, one time, right? I want to talk about margins a little bit. So if we go ahead and inspect, we'll right click on this circle and inspect it. And as you know, this outside part is the margin, right? And it's 10. And like we said, we go from clockwise, right? 10 at the top, 10 right, 10 bottom, and 10 to the left, right? And that's what we have reflected right here. So what you see on this line is actually the same as doing this. These equal each other. You can do this either way, right? This obviously seems a lot easier, correct? And another thing I want to point out here is if for some reason, let's say, we're going to get rid of these because we're just actually going to want to use the first line. But let's just say in your code at some point, you've got a bunch of styles in there, right? And at some point you've got margin defined as like this, and then you have this. Well, the problem is, so if we change this to a 20, you're not going to see that reflected here, right? The first one's the top one, right? Because you're overriding it, right? Now, if we change the second one, obviously it's over there on the right-hand side, right? Because margin top does not override this one. It's overwriting this first one here, right? So you really don't want to do this, right? I mean, you want to make sure you don't ever do this when you already have a margin defined, right? Unless there's a reason you want to override it like that, right? But you just have to realize you are overwriting it. So now we have 20, 20, 10, 10, right? Let's all go put this back. Let's put that like that. Yes. So just want to make sure, that we realize that this is, like I said, exactly like we were talking about. So it's going to be top at noon, right? Clockwise to 3 o'clock on the right hand side, to 6 o'clock on the bottom, to 9 o'clock on the left hand side, right? I'm going to hit Control S, and then over here you will see 10, 20, 30, 40, right? Now there's some other ways to write this that something you want to play around with and look at a little bit, okay? So instead of using 4 of these, actually let's just use 1. So obviously you just use 1, it's going to be 10 all the way around, right? If you use 2 of them, right? If you use 2 of them, what that's going to do is going to make the top one and the bottom one 10, and the left one and the right one 20. As you can see, the top one's 10, the bottom one's 10, the left one's 20, and the right one's 20. Okay? Now let's do one more here. Let's change the other one to 30. So we've got 10, 20, 30. What do you think is going to happen there? In this case, the first one is 10, which is the top one, right? Then the second one is still the left and right ones. Still the left and right. Then the 30 is the bottom one. So it's a little different. It's not, this one's not really following, well, we don't have 4 of them to do the clockwise thing, right? So it handles that a little different, right? First one's the top one. The second one is going to be the left and right ones. And the third one will be the bottom. Then obviously if we make this a 40, now we're back to doing this in the clockwise way, right? 10, 20, 30, 40. So there you go. So now we're going to talk about backgrounds a little bit, okay? And here's our HTML. Basically, we're just using CSS with with different class names for our CSS to apply our CSS to these different elements, right? And this one I ended up just leaving it at the top of the HTML file. So this first one here is a background color. And here on the right, you can see in the HTML, we just have a rectangle where we're using this background color. You can actually set the whole body of the whole page to a certain background color, right? If you do that, you want to make sure that it's readable and, it kind of follows basic accessibility guidelines, right? But, you can use a background color in any, in any sort of block container, we're using it in a div here, right? So, and the next one's a background image, right? And you can use a URL. Now this URL can be either a URL on the internet, but it can also be just a local one. And in this case, we're just doing a local one here, right? Now this next one here is a background repeat, okay? And so actually this third and fourth one. So if you see this, you got background repeat here and you got background no repeat. So this is actually the size of that image. What's happening up here is it's actually repeating it as much as it can. When you do a repeat, it will take one and put another one right next to it, and it will keep adding an image until it fills up the area that it's supposed to fill up, right? So this one down here, the no repeat, this is the actual image, and then the background repeat up here is actually repeating the image, okay? And it's basically, all you do is set it to either repeat or no repeat, right? And I'm also going to show you using like a repeat at the very base, at the body element. And when we get done at the end of these other ones, I'll go ahead and show you that. So next ones I want to show you is these gradients. And, these are really interesting. So like this one here is a linear gradient, and it has two different colors, right? It has a kind of this darker orange and a lighter orange, and it'll say to right. So what happens is here you start over on the left-hand side, you've got your darker orange, and as you go to the right, it gets lighter and lighter. I don't know how well you can see that, but it is going from darker orange to lighter orange, okay? And you can, like this says to right, I can also change that to left, right? And I don't know if you've seen that change, but here's the darker one on the right now. It's lighter on the left, right? It goes from lighter to darker, okay? And so the next one here is this diagonal gradient, and it goes from to bottom right. It starts up at the top here, the top left, and it's more of a purplish color up here, more of this purple color here, right? And as it goes down and to the right, it's more of the bluish color here, right? The next background here is called a gradient multicolor gradient, right? You've got multicolors here. They're all in a row here, and it goes from, you're basically going to right. So you can go to left, you can go to right, okay? You can also go from top to bottom with that as well, right? So let's just go to bottom here. And let's hit save, and you'll see that oh, let me fix that. You'll see the multicolor gradient going from the top to the bottom. And there you go. So these are fun to play with, kind of cool, huh? And so I did want to show you one more thing with backgrounds here. So like I have this repeat one here, right? This repeat one, and we just repeated a little bit here, but let me show you up here. I might have to make this a little bigger too, but let me uncomment this out. And if you see here, I actually did a background repeat X, and what that will do, that will just go the X axis. So it just put that it's actually this one down here, and it repeated this multiple times just at the X axis, right? From left to right, okay? I can change that to a Y here, right? And you will see over here on this side, it's on the Y axis all the way on the left, all the way down, right? And then I can just get rid of that altogether and just do the repeat. And that way the whole page will be covered, all right? Okay. Okay, and now we'll go ahead and talk about borders a little bit. Got some border examples here for you as well. I have some, put this one in a CSS file like you're supposed to, right? So here, this is just a basic border, right? You start with the size of it. This is 2 pixels. What kind it is, solid, and this one's black, right? So this is a 2 pixel solid black border, right? This next one is a rounded one, right? Just like when we were doing the circle, right? We have to use this border radius. We have to use the border radius for this as well. So, and we set this one to 15 pixels here for the border radius, and this is also a solid black, right? So the only difference really between the first one and second one is adding this border radius. The next one is a dash border. The only thing you have to do is just change the type to dashed. And then we have a dotted one, change it to dotted. We have double. We have a groove. It's a groove one. down here. I'm sorry, groove here. And then we have a mixed border one where we're setting, the top of the border, the right of the border, the bottom, and the left of the border, right? Different colors. And in this example, we've got a solid up top, we've got a dotted to the right, a dashed at the bottom, and a double on the left-hand side. Okay. And the last two is going to be really hard for you to see. Depends on kind of what colors and how big it is, but one's outset, one's inset, one's outset border. Okay, and you can play around that, look at that yourself. So there's an inset and there's the outset, right? Lots of different options, right? So that's about all I have today on the chapter 5, and have a good day, and we will talk to you later. Bye.